Hi, everybody, and welcome to this week's Truth Be Told show that's about all things local to Plymouth government. I'm your host and the town manager, Melissa Origi. This show is just another way that I am trying to reach out to the public and to the residents, and of course, those people watching PAC TV, to let you know what is happening in the town hall and in town government in general. If you ever have a question or a topic that you want me to cover, feel free to reach out to me anytime. They're showing my contact information now. So if you hear something, read something, or just want to know something, I'm definitely here for you. We try and do the show every week. But as you know, or as I hope you know by now, you can also reach me through the Twitter account, through the message that we put on the Facebook page, or email me or call me directly. So today's guest is a great one. We have the Plymouth Airport manager with us, Tom Marr. I did tweet about it, and I think I might have gone a little over the top with using, the fly words and winging it, and there's nothing plain about him. But be that as it may, the tweet went out, and he is here with us today. Welcome, Tom.
Good morning, Melissa. Thank you so much for inviting me to be on your little show. I'm really looking forward to talking about the Plymouth Airport. It's one of my favorite subjects.
Well, I know that because you have been dedicated to that airport for so long. And of course, I remember when I started working with you, I kept really wanting the new administration building to happen. And I am so glad you were our airport manager when it did. Tell us a little bit about the building and the project.
Most certainly. The concept of a new admin building actually went back a number of decades. And with so very many things, you have to be patient and persistent. And through the state of Massachusetts, Mass DOT Aeronautics Division, they created a wonderful program for the smaller general aviation airports like the Plymouth Airport to create a series of administration buildings that were consistent, that basically looked more or less the same, so that if you flew into a small airport like Fitchburg or Plymouth, that you would see a building that looked familiar, and you would know that that was the administration building for these smaller airports. So starting about 4 years ago, they went out to design and came up with a conceptual building concept, which it's kind of like the programs for a lot of the school buildings within the state. If you go with a standard design, then the state will assist you in that regard. So in this situation, Mass DOT Aeronautics was very generous, and they understood the nature of the Plymouth Airport, the amount of activity at the airport, and they felt that we would be in the second phase of the new admin buildings. A lot of people loved our old admin building. It unfortunately was built in 4 different pieces. It had all sorts of code and compliance issues. So even though it was cute, it really was something that needed to go further. It was too close to the runway. It
Right.
violated a bunch of federal air regulations. So we had to either move it or replace it. And the new concept building is actually quite pleasant. The Airport Commission had a lot of leeway in reference to the interior design, but also the exterior covering, meaning the actual shingles and such. Some of these buildings were made with just concrete exteriors, and they look rather unfriendly. But the Airport Commission wanted it to be something that looked New England, and in particular Cape Cod-like, meaning southeastern Massachusetts. So we did go with an architectural shingle design on the exterior that is made out of a very sturdy plastic. And most people don't realize that it's not actual cedar shingles. And the idea was to have something that would last for a long time and look appropriate. And to some extent, this is the first place that a person coming to visit Plymouth, the first time they step foot in the town of Plymouth is sometimes the Plymouth Airport, when different people fly into the airport. So we wanted to make a statement towards a friendly, appropriate building that was functional, met all the codes, etc. So through a state grant, we were able to construct the building approximately, it started about 2 years ago, and we've been in the building for just over 1 year. And we think that it's functional. We think that it has space both for the companies that are here in the building, like Plain Jane's Restaurant, but also it has some meeting space for different public groups. So West Plymouth Steering Committee is meeting in this building, especially pre-pandemic. Things are starting to get back more towards normal, but we think that it's a very nice building, and we certainly invite anybody to come visit, go to Plain Jane's, come and watch the airplane. So we think it came out really nice.
It is a gorgeous building. I love it. And I bet there was some nostalgia about the old building. I sort of loved your office with the balcony that went off of it, but I'm just as happy we have the new one. And I want to brag about you for a second, because for people that don't know you, you're so clever. I mean, not only are you really smart and a great airport manager, but you're clever at making things. So you had a direct hand in helping to build some of the furniture that's actually in the new airport. And I want you to tell me about it.
Well, I'm not that clever, believe me, but I had an awful lot of help from the staff here at the Plymouth Airport. And in particular, my office manager, Kim Johnson, she actually designed and built, with the help of Ron Partridge, also one of the airport employees, the basic furniture that are in each of the administrative offices. It's made out of MDF covered with concrete, and then all sorts of fascinating colors, and then epoxied. Further, back in March of 2019, as we were ordering furniture, which the state helped us pay for, we had an interesting challenge in that the conference room in this building is trapezoidal in shape. And Kim was having challenges finding a conference room table that would fit that space, because it's a tapered room. And she said, no doubt with some degree of innocence, can we build a table? And I said, sure, let's build a table. So I designed the table, and then Kim, Ron Partridge, and I basically built the table. And it's a tapered room, so we built a tapered table, and it happens to be a wing. Yeah. And it's a clear glass top with wooden ribs underneath. And for a bunch of amateurs, we thought it came out okay.
I think
it's kind of a neat little conversation piece. And West Plymouth Steering Committee and some of the other town groups have actually utilized the room. We call it the wing room for appropriate reasons. And hopefully the wing will be here for many, many years. So it was a fun project. But yeah, I have a really cool staff that have some very clever people that are able to do interesting things to try to help the airport not only function, but then also make it sort of fun, you know.
Right.
And, it's work in progress.
Before we went on air, we were talking a little bit, and you mentioned that the Plymouth Aerial Club, which I have to tell you I didn't know about, the Plymouth Aerial Club is helping with a series of, did you say pedestal signs? Tell me about that, because that also is not just beautification, but it's telling people about the airport.
Precisely. Yes, the Plymouth Aero Club is a group of pilots and aircraft owners and people that are just interested in aviation. It's basically a social club that meets here at the airport, and part of their process is to actually promote the airport. So they had a fundraising process about a year ago to do some improvements to the administration building and the surrounding grounds that the airport couldn't afford on our own. And that includes a series of pedestal signs that are going to be very much like what you see in downtown Plymouth, that are informational signs that will explain what you're looking at. So for example, one of the signs, and I think it's Brenner Signs, is currently making this as we speak, will be a pedestal sign that's by the fence overlooking the airport, geared towards people who may not know what they're looking at, looking out at the runways and the taxiways. And it will explain how the runways are set up, why they're numbered the way they are, how we select which runway to use in any given circumstances. And we were trying to find a design that would be appropriate and a little bit like what you would see in downtown Plymouth. And we think it'll be a really neat addition. Some of the other things that the Aero Club has been able to do is for some of the artwork within the administration building. If you come into the admin building, you'll see a series of informational signs with pictures of the history
Way
of
up
the
the
airport.
hall,
Down
right
the
on the way up
hallway.
the hall towards the
Yep.
pilot waiting room or whatever that is. Okay.
That is correct. The Aero Club, they were the ones who commissioned that and then donated the signs to the airport commission. So they're trying to find a way to beautify the building, make it functional, and make it so that it's inviting to the public. So it's a great group of people. It's about 100 members, and they're very, very active.
Yeah, I can't believe it. I've been here a while. I never even knew about them, but I'm glad they're supportive and they're helping you do projects like that. I want to go through a series of pictures. So you sent me 9 pictures earlier, and I want the people watching the show to see these. The first picture starts with a picture of the airport tower at night. Can you walk us through all these pictures, starting with that one?
Most certainly. Yes, the first picture was a photo that was taken by one of my airport employees, Steve Donahue, one evening at sunset of the rotating beacon here at the Plymouth Airport. That beacon is a historic piece of equipment. It actually dates to World War II. It was installed by the US Navy when this was a Navy training base during World War II. And since that time, it has moved 3 times to its from different buildings on the airport to its current location. So I just think that that's such a pretty airport. You know, sunset in Plymouth can be really quite gorgeous, and Steve sort of captured the beacon shortly after it was constructed. So we thought that that was really kind of cool, and I just wanted to start off with that. The next photo is the new administration building, which there are some people who say it's the George Jetson building, which if you're old enough to remember George Jetson, it has a shape that's somewhat on the modern side, but again, with the architectural shingles, we think that it's fitting for the New England area. The third photo is an aerial shot taken approximately 7 or 8 months ago of the airport property. And it shows the layout of the different runways and some of the buildings. And just very quickly, the Plymouth Airport has approximately 60 buildings currently located on it. All of them, except for the couple buildings that the airport owns itself, were all built privately. They're all they're paying real estate taxes. We have approximately 250 full-time employees that work on the airport for these private companies. And the airport itself is just under 800 acres, of which about 20% of that acreage is actually in the town of Carver. But the airport is wholly owned by the town of Plymouth. Okay, Carver doesn't own any of the property. It's owned by the municipality of Plymouth. It's a medium-sized general aviation airport. We have about 140 based aircraft, and we have about 60,000 movements per year, a movement being a takeoff or a landing.
Well, when you're throwing out statistics like that, how much is gas? That would be the first thing my husband would want me to ask.
Aviation gasoline is currently $5.50 a gallon.
Okay.
It's high octane, 100 octane fuel, and it's very specialized. So that's why it's as expensive as it is. So you think about that, that's $2.50 a gallon more than what we're typically paying out at the pumps nowadays for aviation fuel. I mean, for automobile fuel.
Right.
So it's a pleasant little airport. We have a lot of grass areas. We have a lot of treed areas. The 60 buildings pay approximately $460,000 in real estate taxes per year, and it pays about $400,000 in land rent to the airport. And that's kind of part of the process that we are able to operate as an enterprise account. We sell fuel and we lease land, and that's basically how the airport functions from year to year. So that's sort of the aerial view of the airport. And you can see there's still a lot of cranberry bogs in the area, et cetera. The next photo, if I can switch to one of our very important tenants here at the airport, is Boston MidFlight. They've actually been here at the Plymouth Airport since 1985. And they have two bases in the state of Massachusetts, Hanscom Field in Bedford, Mass, and then Plymouth. Plymouth serves all of southeastern Mass up to probably like the Norwood area, out to close to Worcester, but Worcester has its own separate MidFlight type thing, but it's not Boston MidFlight. And I thought it was fascinating that in the 40 some odd years that they've been in operations, they have flown over 83,000 patients. And this year, partly because of COVID, they're at a little over 4,400 patients. So they've been more active because of what's transpired with the pandemic than usual. And they've been very, very busy. So at the Plymouth Airport, it's basically in the order of 4, 5, 6 flights per day, depending on the demand. And there are hundreds and hundreds of landing zones scattered around the state, highways. Most of the schools in the town of Plymouth have an LZ for MidFlight that's been coordinated through the fire department, et cetera. So they're there to pick up patients when a patient has to go to a specific hospital in a hurry. And it's fascinating. The insurance companies pay for the flights because they know that they can save money. The patients will get better faster when you get the person to the correct hospital as fast as you can. So in some cases, it means going to Mass General. Some cases, it means transferring from Jordan to Mass General or to Brigham or one of those things. And it's cost effective to do it in a helicopter in a lot of situations. It's not the type of flight people want to go on, but it's an important facet of aviation in a lot of situations. Going on to the next photo, Massachusetts State Police Air Wing is headquartered here at the Plymouth Airport. They've been here for almost 20 years, and they have 3 helicopters and 2 airplanes that are based here at the airport. They also do their training, both classroom and flight training here at the Plymouth Airport. And I think they've been a very valuable tenant here at the airport. And I know the Plymouth Police and a lot of the local communities have utilized their abilities to do search situations with the helicopters in the past. So between the state police and MidFlight, if anybody in the local area hears a helicopter at 2 o'clock in the morning, it's one of them, meaning it's nobody else. They're the only people that are really flying in the evening, nighttime hours or the early morning. Most of it is MidFlight. Okay, they're during a good chunk of the year, they're 24 hours a day here at the Plymouth Airport. And if somebody has an accident on a highway or the like, they're called in by the local fire departments and they respond accordingly. So we think that they're really 2 very important tenants here at the airport, and I think we're very fortunate to have them here. Going to the next photo, which is the south side of the airport. We also have a number of recent tenants that I think are really a positive and beneficial thing for the town and for the airport in general. First off, Cape Cod Community College is located with a full-time program on the south side of the airport. They have a it's currently a 15-month program to become a licensed aircraft mechanic. It's about to go to a 2-year program with an associate's degree sometime, I think, starting in the fall. They have full cohorts of students at the present time. There was a little bit of a slowdown as far as during the pandemic, but it wasn't that there was a lack of students. It was they had to do the social distancing thing, so they had to spread it out accordingly. So Cape Cod Community College is a really neat addition. They've been here for almost 4 years. A lot of their students are getting good paying jobs with the major airlines. You know, in some cases, they're saying that after 2 years, you're in 6 figures. That's a pretty good job. So it's a
pretty good job.
Yeah. Also on that side, we have a collection of other, just really quickly, Nexair is a company that is state-of-the-art avionics. They're one of the best in the country for putting in the gadgets that keep airplanes flying correctly, capable of being navigated from one place to another, all the latest, greatest. Also, there's a company called AvWatch, which is an aviation research and development company. They do primarily Department of Defense type work. Some of it's secret squirrel issues and things, but we don't get to see what they're doing necessarily, but it's mostly government work. And there they have approximately 14 employees, and they don't do a lot of flying, or when they fly, they're flying in other parts of the country. So on just the south side, which was all developed since 2008, we have some really nice tenants. Continuing on, the next slide shows a picture of our biennial air show event, where we have a small general aviation air show. We are so fortunate that a local Plymouth resident is one of the top 10 aerobatic pilots in the world, Michael Goulian. He lives in the Pine Hills, and he has an operation here at the Plymouth Airport. He is our star performer during our air show event, which it's a small airport air show. You know, we get 6,000-7,000 people. People come out and see a bunch of little airplanes and see some aerobatics and some parachute jumping, etc. And it's a really fun event. I'm sorry?
Tom, when is it? When is it?
It's going to be next summer. So this is the off year.
Okay.
And partly it got delayed because of the pandemic situation, but they're scheduled typically for September every 2 years. And it's a fun event. We've certainly tried to get the information out with social media. You can do it a lot easier nowadays than you could before. So please, people, come to it. That next slide is actually Mike Goulian's aerobatic airplane.
That is gorgeous.
It is gorgeous. It's made by a company. It's called an Extra. And the interesting thing is that's the name of the guy. His last name is Extra. And it's made in Germany. And it's just a beautiful, incredibly aerobatic aircraft. So we love having little events of that nature for the local residents and such. And then finally, the last shot is a picture I took of the airport at sunrise, looking off to the east. And it was done in the spring about 1.5 years ago. And I just thought it was a pretty picture and I wanted to share it with people. And it shows the airport, what the runway light systems look like typically. And you can sort of see my car is on the right-hand side. That's where I parked it to be able to take the picture with a drone. So I'm a licensed drone pilot and operated according to all the federal air regulations, et cetera. So that's our series of photos.
I said earlier, you were very clever. You're a man of many talents. So
well, I don't know about that.
Drone, I think it's great. Well, I think it's the perfect picture to end with, because if people liked these pictures, I was on your website earlier, the airport website, and I think there's about 50 pictures out there in your photo gallery. So even if those watching the show don't to get to the airport or go to Plain Jane's, which is really fun, but sometimes you have to wait in line. Take a look at the photo gallery so that you can get a good idea of what we have available right here in awesome Plymouth. And it's located at 246 South Meadow Road. Thank you so much, Tom, for hanging out with me today. It was good and really interesting, as I knew it would be.
My pleasure. And please, everybody come out to the airport and take a look around. We'd greatly appreciate it.
Sounds good. Well, that is what we have for time today. Thanks for tuning in. This show is taped, or it's taped weekly on Wednesday mornings, and it usually can be seen sometime by the afternoon. It will be on Comcast Channel 15, Verizon Channel 47, every day at 7:30 a.m. And then there are some additional times as well that they will rerun it. Good to see everybody. I was happy to be with you today. I was really pleased to have Tom Marr here, and we'll see you next week.